What does it mean when we say nutrients? And what's the difference? Because I know that people talk all the time about food. Is it good nutrition? And how they eat, is it good nutrition? And what we are needing from food is nourishment to help build, grow, repair our body, sustenance, which helps fuel our body, and celebration and social connectedness, which makes us feel quite satisfied and meets a lot of the other needs that we have as a social species. So food is really, really important, and food and nutrients are not the same thing. And what is a nutrient? Well, nutrient is a laboratory term because you can't study even an orange out in the world because all oranges are different. So we study nutrients by controlling all the circumstances. But you need to understand, as soon as we do that, we've taken it out of the context of real life. We aren't really studying what happens to people in real life. Let's, for example, look at calories, a term that people go, like, I don't want to eat that, it has too many calories. And we assume that this calories that we eat, like it's something, when it goes in our body, excess calories produce excess fat. It's how food is converted into fuel. Calories are a measure of energy is an important question, but we figure out the calories in food in a way that you could do right in a high school laboratory experiment. All you do is take your small amount of the food, a gram of the food, and you measure it, weigh it, measure it, and then you light it on fire and see how much fire it takes before it burns up. The instrument that does that is called a bomb calorimeter. And you and I and no other human beings, we're not bomb calorimeters. So we can't just make this assumption that when we eat food and it gets burned up in our bodies by our cells digesting it and using it for fuel, that it will burn cleanly and perfectly the way that it did in the laboratory circumstance. Cars are machines, and we know that their gas mileage can actually differ substantially from, depending on things like if the tires are inflated or not, can even affect your gas mileage. So looking at calories in, calories out this way, and nutrients this way, we can do a little bit of looking back at history and start to understand what people are actually talking about. And they're talking about laboratory setting. Another big problem is the vitamins. Vitamins are something that we discovered. We know that they are vital to your health. They're only required in very small amounts. But most people think that a vitamin is something that you can take. But a vitamin isn't necessarily something that you can take. A vitamin is a description of a substance that, if it isn't present, causes a disease. So we don't talk about needing enough vitamins. We talk about if you don't have enough vitamins, then you get a deficiency disease. But you need to understand that taking supplements, and especially the way we take supplements, which is often substitutes, vitamins are supposed to supplement real food. They're not supposed to be a substitute for real food. That you might not be meeting your needs for your body's needs for nourishment, because those nutrients are discrete little packets of things that are determined in a lab. Now let's use an example of one of the most common vitamins, vitamin C. Vitamin C is labeled in the store is a chemical called ascorbic acid, which is just one of the main things in the compound of vitamin C, because vitamin C is actually a large complex that's assembled in your cells to make certain processes go forward in the cell. Cells have all kinds of jobs. They're always manufacturing stuff and doing things. And in order to make these reactions, that's what we call them in chemistry, go forward, then you might need to have permission. It's sort of like your permit to do the work. And that permit is offered by the vitamin. But the vitamin isn't necessarily used up in that way. A vitamin is assembled. And what you might be doing when you take just a part of the vitamin is that you might still be deficient in some of the other parts. You're eating the main part, and it might hold off a deficiency disease, but it isn't the same thing. Which takes us to what has happened to our food. So we talk about vitamins and we look at foods that are enriched and fortified. This is a really good example. So when we process our food to make it have more stable shelf life, better visual appeal, taste better, whatever it is, we alter the food chemically and often make it nutritionally depleted. We need to understand that food was once alive. We don't understand the food. We don't understand our own bodies. We have some understanding, but not a complete understanding. So we are putting back something that we think so it prevents a disease. So that's what enrichment is. And it's been said, I think Adele Davis, the nutritionist, is most credited with this, but the origins are a little bit unsure, is that when you enrich flour, it's you're taking out all of these micronutrients and you're putting back in a couple B vitamins and some iron. And she said, enrichment is like stealing $25 from you and giving back 99 cents and saying, there, you're enriched, because you're less poor than you were when the need to be enriched happened. Fortification is when we see that there's deficiency diseases because of our general diet, and we say, oh, well, people eat a lot of bread, drink a lot of milk, put salt on their food. Let's throw in this other chemical to prevent a disease. The point that I'm trying to get across to understand is it is great to prevent disease. I don't want anybody to have deficiency diseases, but it isn't necessarily promoting wellness. That's something that we have to take some degree of individual responsibility for. So the food choices we make have a lot of power to enhance our wellness. And, you know, it's said that you are what you eat. That's a little bit simplistic, but what you eat can definitely affect what you are. It can enhance your wellness or it can bring it down. And we are made up of what happens to our food, and we probably need to make better food choices, and we probably need to make those choices more individually rather than delegating all the information away. We are usually finding that after a couple years of saying, eat this food rather than that food, this food's good, this food's bad, then the scientists go, oops, sorry, we made a little bit of mistake there. And a great example would be butter. I think butter, which comes from milk, comes from a living product of usually cows in this country that ate grass, exposed to many, many, many compounds. They translated this into this highly nourishing fat that was good for lots of the organs in our body, and it was a real food. And over the course of history, butter is, of course, a valuable food, costs a lot of money, and we've always been trying to get these substitutes. It's been trying to get margarine substitutes for a really long time to feed the military and prisoners and things like that, who usually start off with this deficient food. Anyway, we started to eat not eat butter and eat this hydrogenated vegetable oils, which is vegetable oils from vegetables that don't have oil in them. It's not like olive oil and nut oil. It's from these seeds, like soybean oil and corn oil and sunflower oil and rapeseed oil, that's canola oil. They, you know, all these seeds, they make, you can heat them up really hot, squeeze them really hard, and then wash them with a very, very strong chemicals, and you can get oil out of them. And then that oil is liquid, not like butter. It's not a fat, it's an oil, so it's liquid at room temperature, so you can't spread it on your bread. So they then did another chemical reaction where they shoved hydrogen in, which twisted it the wrong way. And that's your trans fats. So these we were eating because we were told that they were so good for us, and they're not good at all. And in addition, since people are so fixated on decreasing their fat, they have definitely increased their sugar because their brain is trying to make up for something that's, you know, this decrease that's there. And when we eat more sugar, we're still getting into a lot more problems. So our body's always looking for nourishment, and it is possible to be undernourished and overfueled. So you can be undernourished. You can have malnutrition and still be fat, because that might be that you have more fuel than you're needing to burn, but you're still not having these building blocks, either in the larger building blocks or these micronutrients, many of which we don't even know what they are or how they work or how they're obtained, only that they're present in great balance in real food, because Mother Nature has been working this out for the billions of years that the planet Earth has been in existence. And we think we can go into a lab in less than 100 years and replicate it. And that's a little bit of hubris, which means, thinking way above yourself. And in all the ancient religions like mythology and things like that, Greek mythology, what we see is the worst punishments to man always came from hubris. And so it doesn't matter where your religious philosophy is, that it's possible that what we're paying the price of right now is for our hubris, that we can mimic Mother Nature perfectly with this really limited amount of knowledge we have of how our biology and the biology of food works.